Now, look, a lot of us know the feeling of wanting to make a change. Maybe it's getting healthier, being less reactive, making more time for yourself, or finally breaking a pattern that you've carried for years. But often, when we talk about improvement, the advice is to add something, add a new habit, add a new routine, add another goal to the list. This morning, however, psychology consultant and author Dr. Jo Lukens is looking at a different idea. What if growth is not always about doing more, but of gently letting go of what no longer fits? Good morning, Dr. Jo.
Good morning, Sarah.
What do you mean by gently letting go of something?
It's an interesting idea, and as you said in the introduction, we so often lean into what do we have to do next? What do we need to add when we want to have change in our life or when we need to have change in our life? And so when we're gently letting go, it's almost like a retirement, if you like, of something that we used to do or something that used to serve us or maybe it didn't serve us. And so we make that, it's a conscious decision to stop doing that behaviour, which will be a change, but also get us closer to the outcomes that we're seeking.
Because we do often hear about building better habits, but I guess this idea is almost the opposite. Why is this shift in perspective sometimes necessary?
I think it can be really helpful because, life is full of yes and no decisions. Yes, I will do that. No, I won't do that, whatever the thing might be. So if I want to move myself, say, to being fitter or healthier, then I might need to say yes to more exercise, but first I might need to say no to, sitting on the couch and not doing any exercise or whatever it might be. So, we're always making yes or no decisions. And I think when it comes to habits, when it comes to changes, we do so often focus on what do I need to add into the mix, what do I need to make different, when sometimes we can just give ourselves a little bit more space by no longer doing the things that don't serve us.
And I'm sure everyone can relate genuinely, wanting to make life changes in one way or another. Why can improvements, though, still feel so hard?
That's such a great question, because I think sometimes when we struggle with change, we can be quite critical of ourselves and say, well, that's obviously because there's a failing in me. But it's really more about how our brain's structured and how it works. And our brain is really built for efficiency. It's not built for change. Our brain, there's so many things going on in our day. I've seen some speculation of, we make 30 to 40,000 decisions every day. So no wonder we're tired by the end of the day. So our brain really likes the familiar, the habits, the things that we do, even when they're not ideal. So when you shift a routine like, going to bed earlier or cutting back on the evening wine, whatever it is, you're not fighting laziness, but you're just going against a habit that's become entrenched. So I think that's one of the reasons why making changes can feel difficult for us.
And some of our habits have been with us for years, maybe even for decades. How do we work out whether something is still serving us or whether it belongs to an older version of who we used to be?
Yeah, I think what I like to do is I have a question that I like to put over the top of much of the things that I do, and I ask myself, is this behaviour or is this way of thinking helpful for me? And I think that's the important part of it. Like you said, if a habit has been with us for a really long period of time, sometimes we don't even realise it's a habit. We're not even aware that it's, the default thing that we do. So it does require us to be a little bit curious, to, do a little bit of self-examination and notice the things that we do. And then if you overlay a question like, is this helpful for me? Is this getting me closer to my goal or further from my goal? Because it'll be doing one or the other. Then that will be the thing that will help us then to make a decision about whether this is a behaviour we want to continue doing or whether this is something we need to modify or even take out of the picture.
On ABC Radio Queensland, you're hearing from psychology consultant and author Dr. Jo Lukens about the idea that to grow, something may need to go. Now, there's a big difference between giving up because something is difficult and deciding that something has run its course. How do we tell the difference, Dr. Jo?
Yeah, so I think what happens, this won't always hold, but often when we give up on something, it's usually very much a reactive thing that we do. You're tired or it's hard, and so you walk away. You try the new exercise regime that's recommended for you. It's uncomfortable, and you go, no, I won't do that. So giving up is often reactive, Whereas when we when we've actually genuinely looked at it and decided that it's run its course, we've got a little bit of what I would say data, so we've got some evidence there about, how this now plays out for us, then we can make a decision then that, maybe this behaviour has run its course, the pattern's done its job, and, you can maybe now let it go.
Why do you think so many of us default to adding things when we want life to improve instead of asking what we can remove?
Because we've been told for a very long time that's what works for us. We've been taught that more is better. There's productivity tools out there that we can buy. We feel like we need to add things, make more commitments. That self-improvement is all about what's the extra thing that you need to add into your life, when sometimes it's as simple as, asking yourself that really powerful question of what could I stop doing? Maybe I could drop the doom scrolling through the news, or maybe I could stop taking work calls during dinner or when I'm having family time or whatever it is. What are the things that I can stop doing? And then that just gives us the space to get closer to our goals.
And so for someone who is listening this morning who maybe is already thinking of a habit or a routine or a pattern that they might have outgrown, what is one gentle way to start this week?
Well, for the list lovers out there, and I must confess that I am a list lover myself as well, we often write these to-do lists for ourselves, or I write what's next list. The one list I'd encourage people to think about writing, if they've not written one before, is a stop doing list. What's one behaviour that you'll stop doing? And maybe there's just one small behaviour you could pick for this week that, that behaviour doesn't really serve you, and you can remove that from your life, free yourself up a little bit, and test that out and see how that goes for you. And then, obviously if that works well, then maybe move on to the next thing. That's what I would suggest for this week.
Yeah, start small, one thing. I love it. Dr. Jo, thank you so much.
Great to talk to you, Sarah. Thank you.
You too. Dr. Jo Lukens, thank you. Joining us for Mindwise this morning. She's a psychology consultant and author.
New from ABC Books.
Australia.